So you're going to record this and then it's going to be available later, right?
Yeah, you'll be usually I think about 6 weeks is when Steve plans on doing this.
All right.
Man. So I guess I'll jump into my first question. When did you start playing?
I started playing, goofing around as a kid, as a very young boy. But I got a drum, I guess, when I was about 8, and then I liked it more when I was 10, and then when I was 12, I talked my mama into getting a small drum set. And but she said I had to take lessons. So I would say at that age is at the age that I had to, sort of make a commitment to myself and make a decision in what I liked and all of that. It was pretty cool. So around 12 was really when I hit it, because right within a year of that, I was playing in a small band, a kid band.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
do you remember that first kit?
The first kit?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The first real kit was it was a used set of drums my mother bought from Campo Brothers Music Store in Broad and Esplanade, and it was a small used set of drums that had a bass drum, a tom-tom, and a snare drum, and a very small cymbal, and no sock cymbal, no hi-hat. So that was it, with calf skin heads. And I would say it was probably 1961, maybe. Okay. And she paid $35 for it. And she paid, I think, on it $2.50 a week, like that. And as long as I went to drum lessons, she would pay for the drums.
Man, I love talking to drummers about their very first drums, because I still remember mine. Horrible percussion plus kit.
Oh yeah, man. Mine was very primitive, man. Very primitive.
Man, so who did you study with at that age?
At that same music store upstairs were small rooms with individual music teachers in them. Like trumpet, clarinet, trombone, saxophone, piano, and the drum teacher was a guy named Charlie Sewer, who was Don Sewer's brother. Don Sewer is a famous, he passed away, but he was a famous New Orleans clarinet player, trad player, way, Anyway, Charlie Sewer, his brother, was a bebop drummer at night, but by day he taught English at Nichols High School, which was down on St. Claude in the 9th Ward. That's where he taught English. And then he taught after-school lessons, drum lessons, and on Saturday. And at nighttime, he played at this place on Claiborne and Canal Street called the Gollywog Lounge, where they had a big hotel. And down there, he played in the lounge. And yeah, he was cool. Charlie Sewer was my first teacher, and he was great. Half-hour lessons once a week on Saturday mornings. And 15 minutes on a drum pad and reading out of a method book and counting and singing out loud. Then 15 minutes on this really put together drum set that he had with an old record player, with the lid up, and he turned up the speakers real loud, and you had to, it was cool. It was cool. It was cool. It was all great.
So when did you start writing tunes, though? Because you got a very interesting writing style when you write tunes. Like when did that part of everything come together?
Wow. Well, there was the I would say part of going to college and the homework and the classes that were assigned. I went to classical college. I never went to jazz college. They didn't have jazz college back then. They never had no programs like that. But anyway, the classes that I took, you had to basically compose. Whether in the beginning it was given just one melody line and you had to harmonize it. It's basic composition. And then later on it's arranging, then it's composition, and it's big band arranging and composition, and it's serial writing and composition, and it's 12 tonal writing and composition. So you start from the 18th century and go on in college, and I think the homework itself was basic composition. As a matter of fact, by the time I got to be a sophomore, it was composition. You had to write big band arrangements, nothing given. You had to do it, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so I would say, but my part of composition where I started wanting to write songs and actually taking the time to sit there and put it down on paper and hand it to the guys and say, hey, let's play this. I'd say that really never started until I was in my 20s, probably by the time I was around 25 and 6 and 7.
Okay.
I started. Yeah. Oh, for sure. By the time I was 27, but I had already had some affixed ideas and tunes when I was 25. I'd sit down at the piano and say, yeah, this is going to be like this. Okay. And then by the time I was 26, I started putting ideas on paper. By then, by the time I was 27, I had the opportunity to present a concert. And then that's when I said, hey, I'm the boss. Let's play this.
Yeah. Has your like process changed when it comes to writing? Because I'm also a drummer composer. I know my process changes all the time.
Okay. I don't think I'm like most guys who are composers, because if I'm considering myself a composer, I consider there's a duality to myself, being even in a category or classified. Meeting the requirements of a composer. I think there's still a duality to it that I see, and there's this thing called spontaneous composition that's what beboppers and improvisers do, where you spontaneously compose. Now, I realized that in itself, the process of improvising is a speeded, kind of, to me, seems like a speeded up version of a composer sitting down and writing, but a guy sitting down starting to play it's sort of like just a speeded up version of a guy writing a melody on paper. I mean, like a guy, going zooming 100 miles an hour, also no time to correct the mistake. So that's kind of a bummer. But so anyway, I do see that duality to composition. The spontaneous composer that I am, and really feel that I've worked on all my life. And I still do to this day practice spontaneous composition. I practice that process. So as a composer, those processes are, going to come to me differently. They'll come to me. I'll give myself an assignment like, hey, Johnny, write a tune. And then my wife will say, hey, I bet you can't write a tune that's a second line but in 3/4, like a waltz. And so I'll feel challenged. And I'll sit down, and that's how I wrote Deb's Garden. I thought it would be a second line in 3/4, a waltz, but it turned out to be some sort of tango, like 3/4 kind of thing. This very much Spanish tinge. David Torkanowski put the Spanish tinge on it, and that's what it became. It never became a second line waltz. But Deborah was the one who originally challenged me with the idea, so I sat down. So in the case of that song, I actually had given myself an idea because the Astral Project was doing a new record, and they asked me if I had anything to donate. I didn't, so I said I better write a song. And Deborah said, "Hey man, you better donate something. I mean, you better put one of these songs on." That was Voodoo Bop, I think. And so so that song was challenged. Now another tune like New Day, which was written when I was about 25 years old. Red Tyler was the first guy to record it. Then Tony DeGrati was the second guy. And then it made it on several other records. But back in the game, that tune strictly was from me sitting down and the melody just coming in pieces. And it was written over the course of maybe, it constantly evolved. And I said, first I had 2 measures, then I had 8 measures. Then I said, wow, what am I going to do? There must be a bridge. Yeah, there's a bridge. Wow. But it came, very. It came the hard way, not the hard way, but the long way.
Okay. How do you practice spontaneous composition? Do you put limits on yourself, or
No, I give myself a theme, an idea. That's one way. The other way is to have nothing. Go on sheer, take a deep breath and just feel and start moving, start going through dance, and then make it sound as colorful and as as entertaining as possible, even though it doesn't have like a catchy melody or blah blah blah, or catchy a rhythmic idea. So practicing spontaneous improvisation is giving yourself a simple motif and see if you can develop it on a clever basis. See if you really can almost make a song out of it. Take a bit, take a piece, and see what you can do with it. Okay. That's one good way. That's the good, solid, strong way. And of course, there's the other way is to give yourself abstract ideas and then take chances and really kind of let down your barriers as far as how you might feel as though whether it be good or bad or judged in any case as passive or not passing or not passing. Spontaneous improvisation involves a lot of exposure, and you're exposing yourself, and some of it could not be so hip, at least to someone else's eye, an ear in this case.
Yeah. Is that how you've developed a lot of your language? Because you do have a really unique set of for lack of a better word, licks from other guys, especially when you're playing straight ahead.
Absolutely, from other guys, and that is the language that everybody recognizes. So that's the language that I use. I never took everybody else's language exactly. Therefore, I wouldn't be sort of using that part of my brain that is too academically. I only really listened to the guy's attitude, the way he did, and maybe picked up on one or two things, that he does, and then used that so people would identify with that. Like, I didn't really take apart any Philly Joe Jones solos, but I know the one or two things that he does, and one of them is. So I know that, I know Philly gonna do that. So if I just dab it up, tick, it's just hey Johnny, just Johnny sounding like Philly Joe. And it never fails, it never fails, it never fails. And I know that if I take like say I'm playing spang, dang, dang, spank, and I say triplets on that, sakata, and then the quarter note, bow, 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 bow. And if I roll that, it sounds like Elvin. Because I'm still playing triplets, I'm just playing them real sloppy like. It's really.
Yeah.
A good way to make somebody, feel Elvinish. And nobody can really sound like Elvin. Only Elvin, It's impossible to imitate Elvin.
Yeah. Speaking of imitate, who were your guys when you started playing? Like, who were the guys that you imitated?
I mean, in the very beginning, it was the guys that I was hearing around town, especially, guys like Smokey Johnson and James Black and David Lee and Paul Ferreira, and I used to hang out with some Freddie Staley a lot because he was playing with two bands that were very different, and immediately I was learning how to fuse stuff by just listening to Freddie play two different gigs. Anyway, I was young, and then as it grew, I was discovering drummers like Max Roach, and I was discovering, after I had already discovered a lot of Buddy Rich, and I like Shadow Wilson because I had some records with Charlie Parker and Dizzy, and Shadow Wilson was the drummer. So then I listened to a lot of Ed Thigpen and Ray Brown play with Oscar Peterson to really get that feeling to put the sock cymbal on 2 and 4, that backbeat, to really get that walking groove happening. And then, after I got introduced to Tony Williams, things got turned around in my whole head. So that was about when I'm between the ages of 16 and 17. And, somebody laid the record on me in my late 16s with Tony Williams, 4 or More with Miles Davis. And it just blew my mind. So I put the record away. And then about 9 months later, I put the record on, and then I could understand it a little bit. And that's what turned my whole head around. And also the whole time I was listening to, getting exposed to more and more jazz. I was playing in different teenage rock bands, so I was playing already since I was way young, since I was, like 11, 12 years old. I was already listening to a lot of James Brown and Ray Charles, Wilson Pickett, Otis Redding, because that's the shit that the teenagers were in. That's what the bands were like until the Beatles came along. Then everything changed. But before that, everybody was playing soul music in the kid bands, But anyway, so I was the guys I can't, coming, once I got into Tony Williams, man, then I realized, that I had seek knowledge not just from around me in New Orleans, but I had the opportunity to try to, hear these records with this guy from the North called Miles Davis, and who are these people, And even at that time, back in the early '60s, it took more months to get a new record down here. If Miles Davis made a new record up there in 1962, you might not get it down here to 64. It's a possibility. I found that out. Yeah. Anyway, but I figured out how to order my records. But anyway, So, and I also had a full belly of Dave Brubeck. Once I heard Take 5, I said, what? So I went and bought Time Further Out by the Dave Brubeck Quartet. I recommend all the cats to listen to that. All you drummers, just listen to that. Especially Eugene Wright, the bass player. Man, I met them cats. Gene Wright is a beautiful cat. I had a hang with him. Anyway, so, I grew up, and then when I heard Paul Motion, that made me do another head spin. When I heard Bill Evans and Scott LaFaro, turned my head around 3 times when I heard Scott LaFaro play with Bill Evans and Paul Motion. So then I became, I was always influenced, but I can go on and on, I like Milford Graves. Milford Graves is wild, man, but I understand that. I work with Sam Rivers. I understand a lot of that. I worked with Sam Rivers back in my 20s. Yes, sir.
Yeah. How long did you work with Sam?
He came down here and did some concerts on several occasions, and I was lucky enough to be in a band on several occasions, different places. Contemporary Arts Center, Longview Gardens, 1 or 2 other places around, Man,
that's pretty wild. You don't hear a lot about Sam Rivers with some guys, unfortunately.
That was back in the late 70s.
Yeah. Well, man, I also love that you're talking about Paul Motion and Shadow Wilson. Those are cats that not many people talk about either anymore. Man. Unfortunately, especially with Paul, he's one of my favorites.
He is mine. I got a large collection of all his records, man. But he's been my biggest influence since the day I met him, still to this day. I'm definitely a Way of Motion fan now.
Yeah. So, how did you start? I mean, you listen to all these jazz guys, these heavy cats in the '60s. When do you start going into the R&B thing for real? Because you got the Professor Longhair gig, you were one. I believe you were his last drummer, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, how did you adapt all that information you were learning to meet the R&B world?
That information, came on the right on the backs or the heels of R&B. I mean, the next logical move is just a little complex, a little bit more compound, and that would be jazzy stuff. Because R&B and jazz are really much the same, except that R&B is more primitive and jazz is a little bit more complex. That's all. But they're the basic same structures, the blues structures. They use the blue notes. They use the same scales, the same blue scale, and all of that. So anyway, for me, it wasn't a question of one came before the other. They were both in my life at the same time, all of the time. At the same time, when I was maybe 9 years old and my mama got in a Columbia record club because we had a little phonograph. And so we were getting like 10 LPs a month plus another one. And I was, very much listening to, I would just point out records because I knew I could get 9 free ones, So I was listening to everything from Beethoven to Shostakovich to Gershwin to Xavier Cugat to Mancini to I listened to. I was exposed to everything, and then the outside, when I was a kid playing with kids when I was 13, I was playing in a traditional band that played traditional music, like Saints Go Marching In. We learned that whole repertoire, and I got to play in that for a year while I was still hanging out with my friends playing, wearing out James Brown live at the Apollo, wearing that record out. That's so at the same time I was learning when I already knew on the Saints Go Marching In, but at the same time when I was learning Barbecue Strut and Rampart Street Parade, and when I was learning Tiger Rag, I was learning Think. I Feel Good. I was learning all. To me, there was no difference. It was just what I was hearing and playing. I didn't really categorize it except for the category that this is what I got to learn how to play. Because this is what everybody likes and this is what everybody's doing. And I got put in this band that plays this kind of music, and they some fun cats, so I'll play that kind of music. I can do it. And then I got my other boys here. You're going to jump the fence and go hear the Beatles? Sure, I'll do that. That's all cool. So it wasn't a question of anything for me to pick or any divisions in between the categories or styles of the music. To me, it was just what was happening to me as a kid all at one time.
It all kind of cross-pollinates.
Oh, man, it wasn't like, I didn't go for any specific colors in the jelly bean jar. I just wanted a handful. You dig?
Yeah.
I didn't want 3 green ones. I wanted a handful. That's what I felt about what was, being offered to me.
Wow. So, because Steve Mazikowski is the impetus behind this interview series that we're doing, I got to ask about Astral Project and how that started.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So I heard you did an interview with Offbeat where you said it's Tony DeGratti's original doing?
He was the guy who got the original personnel together. In that original personnel, there was a percussion player that was supposedly the 5th part, and Steve was in and out of the band. I think in the beginning. I'm not exactly sure about that, but all I do remember is the time when Steve became very important in the band was when the percussion player left. then, we never hired another percussion player because we liked that particular guy, and we just didn't need it. And because we said, let's just use Steve all the time, So okay, then the band took on that persona, and piano, guitar, bass, and drums. That was the rhythm section, And Steve got to be so me and David and James were very percussiveness as the rhythm section, and Tony and Steve had the opportunity to do more melodic things, and so la la la. So that was the first steps. Then for years it was like that. I threw this record here that I happen to have out today. My wife pulled it out because we were looking at it. This one here is not with David. I think the one before, Voodoo Bop, was with David Torkanowski and Steve. And this one here is called Big Shot, and it's just the four of us. In other words, James and Tony, Steve, and me. Mm-hmm. Oh, there I am. Okay. And I'm the guy with the cigar. It's crazy. Well, the name of the record's Big Shot, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you got to have it if you're going to be a big shot.
Yeah, they all got cigars, but they don't know what to do with them. I got mine in my mouth. So now we really know who the Big Shot is.
Oh, man. It's no good smoking with rookies.
Yeah, really. One puff and they're like, whoa. And I was like, deal them, bro, deal them. Deal them.
Oh man. So when did that start to shift to everybody bringing tunes for like the record or the gig?
On any specific record, at any specific time, there was no at different times. I think different people brought in tunes. I think I brought in a tune called St. Paul on another record that followed this one called what's that crazy song? Bulldog Run.
Mm-hmm.
Something like not that. No, that ain't it. Something else. But anyway, they just said, all you had to say was, hey, I got a tune. Let's track it. And if it sounds good enough, let's put it on a record. If not, keep it in the can.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. Tony never had no specific. Yes, this will do. No, that won't do. All you had to do was bring it in, but they did ask specifically, hey, you got anything for the record,
Man. Cool.
They always ask that, and a couple of times I said, hey, no, not really, because I never had really anything, I had specifically thought about or done. Mm-hmm. Like I don't actively get up and start writing every day. I don't do that.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't need 300 really bad tunes that I write every day. So.
Yeah. I mean, I have done some stuff on one piece of paper, and I have thrown a whole lot of paper away.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
So you're also known as an educator, specifically like a private teacher. Like I said before we started this, I took a lesson from you. You got students who are drummer famous, who are dropping your name in interviews. What makes an effective private teacher?
Getting to know a student,
mm-hmm.
and then I have personally, getting to know a student. Then if you don't know what you're doing, the second thing is figure out a way you're going to communicate with him, talk to him, figure out what language you have to use, figure out what he's understanding, what he's not understanding. But I have really, I think in scientific, in my trials and errors scientifically and reading the right kind of books, I figured out that, the students, the person that I'm trying to deal with It could be a left brain thinker or a right brain thinker. One is more creative. One has to be a little bit more academic. I think that's a good thing to try to detect early in your meetings with your student. Is see if he tends to be a little bit more lucid and creative style. Hey man, do it like this. Try this stick, and or if you think he needs to know 1 and a 2 and 3 and then you could write it down and let him look at that, and then you say, watch me, I'm gonna sing it 1 and a 2 and a 3 and 4, and then I'm gonna say sing it and play it, and he'd probably do it just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other cat might want to hit just play it, bro. Jab jam doom. He might say, you mean this? It might be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say, well, yeah, that's good enough. Because to me, that brought out some of his individuality. He wasn't exactly copying what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of let him know both. I say, well, it wasn't exactly what I did, but it sounded good enough. I think that's cool, Yeah. Now, if you want to know both, here it is written down. You can take that home and deal with it later. But what you just played, we're going to use today. Because he got the... So my objective is, in the long run, what you ask for students is to see each one of them and try to get them to go inside and be themselves. Rather than me showing this lick and that lick, you can do this and that, and you go through this book and you go through this book and you'll be cool. Yeah, it's pretty easy, but hey, if I'm on one-on-one with a cat, and if if he's paying me money, I'm gonna try to honestly get to know that person and try to. I want them to come out, man. He could easily just slow everything down I'm doing, and I could hand it to a dude and say, copy this out, and I could hand it to my next student and say, hey, just learn this, $100, Mm-hmm. But that ain't right. I want the cat to be music. I want the cat to be a drum playing the music. I want him to come out. That's what I'm doing. Believe me, I'm being who I am, And right now, and I always tried to, when I was younger, I tried to be who I am, but I knew how to keep a job.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I learned early in life, how to keep a musical job, So, but then as I grew older, I'm almost 72. I can be who the hell I want. Who gives a damn, right?
Right.
Hey, say la vie. But, I'm saying, so, but for a student, for our younger person, teaching them, I want them to be who they are, and to know it at least, and at the same time, I'd like to teach them, this is how to get through a gig,
mm-hmm.
Don't play that, what we just been taught, what we just been doing. Don't go on a gig playing that. That's for your friends and your buddies. But if you go on a gig with this guy and you're going to play this kind of gig,
mm-hmm.
You got to do that, man, and get that check.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the same time, I want somebody to be themselves, an original voice of music. I want them to have that little part in their brain that says, okay, I need to put some groceries on the table. So, I can unscrew my head and put it on the side. I'll put it on my work head, go make them groceries and put my happy head back on and go home and listen to some monk.
Yeah. Man, what do you usually say when, what are your keys to keeping a job?
Try to do what's asked of you. Mm-hmm. Let the music, first of all, let the music try to tell you what to do. And then, of course, the person who is in charge, paying you, basically, try to do what they want to do, man. It's temper. It's like you can look at your watch and say, I'm going to be out of here in 2.5 hours. I'm going to have a cheeseburger, and I got a blonde sitting on a couch at home, and we're going to watch some movies and eat some cheeseburgers, and man, I'm going to have a great time tonight. Oh, shucks, only I got an hour and 10 minutes left. Oh, this is cool. All right, what you want me to do again? Oh, boom, chick, boom, less bass drum. Oh, okay. Faster, slow, faster. Okay, sure. Okay, so, oh, you're a terrible drummer. Oh, I'm sorry. Gonna try it again. You know, hey, I'll be out of here in 35 minutes. Ooh, with a check, with my blonde on the sofa. Don't take it seriously, is what I tell them. Mm-hmm. Don't take it seriously. You get a bad gig, don't take it seriously. You go on a gig, try to do what they ask you to do. You know? And you're going to do that a lot of your life. Most of your life, if you're a working stiff drummer. You know? Even if you go touring the world, man, they even ask you more things to do. You'll be getting it from the piano player, who's the boss, and you'll be getting it from the singer, who's the diva. You know, and you're making thousands of dollars a week, different city every night, and one guy's asking you slower, she's saying faster, going back and forth. You don't say nothing. I just, you know, until they throw you off the stage. I mean, they got to pay you, fast. I mean, I'm not saying it's horrible, but I'm not saying, be ready for what you're going to come up across in life, being a side man, being a working guy, whether it be for $500 or whether it be for $5,000, you know, and it will be for both.
So just treat every gig.
Yeah. Be humble. Be humble. It's temporary. And it's not the substance of life. It's not water. It's not food. It's not peace and war, man. It's icing on a cake. It's music. It's icing on a cake. That's extra stuff. You know? So, you know, but it's beautiful and we love it because that's who we are. You know? We let the music come through it. We surrender ourselves to the music, and that's the way to make music, with people, for people, that lives. And John Coltrane's music lives. You still hear it. It's in the air. Well, its vibrations are still going out like that. It's still there. So if you make music that's deep and you're feeling it, that's what I want to do with somebody. Ask me what do I want to teach somebody. I'm going to teach them how to get deep inside themselves. Let themselves resonate through the universe.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask another deep question. I know that I've heard you say it on a bunch of occasions, New Orleans is a drummer town. But what does it mean when somebody says that to you?
It means they got a lot of drummers here that are good.
Easy.
Yep. And that's true. It always was, too. Always was. Always did have a lot of drummers that were good. That's why, man, I mean, you know, you say who's some first people, you know, that really inspired. Shucks. Around the corner, a guy playing in a funky bar up above the men's room was the stage, man. All I could see was his feet because I was too young to go in the bar. Looked through the window because there was no air conditioning, and I looked in the windows on Friday and Saturday night. I sat on a tree stump and I could see the drummer's feet and hear the music because the windows were wide open, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a great inspiration to me too. I realized how important them feet were.
All right, so I gotta ask. I'm allowed a handful of nerdy drum questions to ask. Man, how develop that press roll that you got?
Yeah.
If you got a super smooth press roll, I'm just wondering, like, how did you work on getting that as smooth as you did, or as you do?
Couple of things. I use the edge in the middle. I try not to put the sticks too close together so the head's not vibrating in the same space. The way I started was to try to stay in rhythm and smooth it out and say like 1 and 2 and 1 and 1 and then you know, roll that and smooth it out. For example, I might say something like this: 1 and 1 and 1 and go. And my sticks are about in the middle of the drum on each side, not in the center. your edge, middle, center. So I'm thinking of the middle now, which is roughly about put the camera down, roughly about 9 and 3 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? Like this. So you got the edge, you got the middle, and you got the center. I'm talking about the middle. All right. So how do I smooth out my roll? First of all, I personally think in time a lot. Like, for example, I'm a roll out. I'm not going to try to make it exactly 2 strokes. I'm just going to buzz it, but I'm going to keep that motion. Ba 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 ba. Zaka ta 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 ta. Watch. Here I go. Now I try to get it smoother. Now I'm gonna go diddly 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 and buzz that. I try basically like that. You know, at first my hands are apart, and to get it smooth, I put my hands together and I go a little bit more towards the edge. You know, but it's pretty much rhythmically. That's everything's pretty much rhythmically to me, you know.
Okay.
And then you smooth it out and buzz it and drag it. It's not necessarily a pure a rudimentary roll. It's not purely 5 strokes. It's not purely 9 strokes. Even though that's what a 9-stroke roll would be. Da 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 da. 1 2 3 4 1, which would be 2 4 6 8 1, 2 4 6 8 9, right? You know, if you could play a perfect 9-stroke roll to that, I don't. I just buzz, blah, 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 slop it with the snares loose. Sound good. Pretty much rhythmically, you know, today's not one of my smoother days, you know, but then again, you know, like I said, you know, it's not something I have every day, but it's something I do try to practice every day or play every day. It's a roll. Even though I haven't played a gig in a year, I've been playing a roll every day.
Yeah.
You can't tell by that, but I mean, believe me. I promise.
Oh man. Do you see all the drums like you see the snare drum? Because it seems like you really see the drum as 3 notes as opposed to 1 drum. Because you get different tones from the center to the middle to the edge. You see all the drums that way?
Yes. That's the entire kit. I see the entire kit as an orchestra at my avail. I see it that it can play at a whisper. I see it that it can play as a roar. I see that whatever's there melodically, can't play a melody because it doesn't have notes, but I can make you think that I'm playing the angles and that I'm playing some sort of rhythmic melodic version of the song. So yes, I mean I see it all potentially, and there's whatever I can do to get sound out of. Mm-hmm. But that's pretty old school, you know. I mean, all old cats played all over the, rims and all of that, you know. And so I mean, I see all over the head the same way. When I say earlier, I said edge, middle, center, but there's all the increments in between too. You know, for example. You know, and then they got like over the snares, center, towards the middle away, a little different. The edge, very different. Now, if I go over the snares over them here, over the snare's center, over the snare's middle, over the snare's edge. Over the snare's edge here, not over the snare's edge here, it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear that.
I could say, I might be saying, oh, when nothing. If you see me do this, oh, when nothing. Zada go, and there's an arc to it. There's an arc to the rhythm, you know. I mean, even though I'm playing a straight rhythm, it's two notes, ga 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 ga. I mean, it's zada go ga 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 ga. That
almost like you're using. Sorry, like almost like you're using the shape of the snare to shape the phrase.
Yeah, just to make you think you're hearing something that could be related, that could be somewhat musical.
Man, that's new for me. Man, well, I gotta ask gear questions, right? That's two drummers get together, gotta talk about gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you still on DW and
DW and Sabian, Aquarian heads, and I went to Vic First Sticks, you know, because I did some stuff for PAS and I changed some stuff around, and everything's beautiful. But that's the equipment I use, you know.
Well, I mean, when this is all over, are you still gonna have your Thursday night thing at the Maple Leaf, or are you gonna try to get it somewhere else? Or
my wife and I were talking about that a little bit. I don't know what things would be like. We'll see what things like. So other possibility exists, you know. Depending on if that's still there, you know. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, I'll be tuning into every Facebook Live you got.
Oh, cool.
I mean, I hope that everyone else will as well.
Cool.
Oh, man. I just want to thank you again for sharing all that.
At your service, you know, and I don't hesitate to ask me anytime.
I will do.
And that'd be a great thing, and I'll be glad to help you, and vice versa. You can help me.
Man, yeah, anytime you need me to do anything, I'll get groceries.
Thanks,
get whatever
man.
you need.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate that. Now that I got your number. Where you live at?
I'm in Carrollton right now. I'm near Tulane.
Okay.
Yeah. But I moved from Brooklyn, so I have a car, and now I'm realizing everything's a lot shorter distance with the car.
Oh yeah, man. It's a small place.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm happy to be able to talk to you.
Yeah. Likewise. Don't hesitate to call anytime, man.
Yeah,
please.
I'm gonna make sure that Steve can set up more conversations with people who are heroes of mine. So.
Great idea. Great idea.